asked, who is Barack Obama? Who has built his foundation? So what did Barack do in the last 20 years? Well, he's, one thing, sat in the, one of the pews of the Trinity United Church of Christ and listened to Reverend Jeremiah Wright's sermons. He says he counts Wright as a member of his family and his senior spiritual advisor. Okay, if that's true, then I think it's fair that we find out who Wright is and what he believes. In the talking points page of the Trinity Church's website, Reverend Wright, in his own words, states that the foundation of his beliefs are in systemized black liberation theology and praises James Cone's book, Black Power and Black Theology. This is what James Cone, the man who Obama's senior spiritual advisor looks up to and whose ideas he preaches, states as black liberation theology. Quote, "Black theology refuses to accept a God who is not identified totally with the goals of the black community. If God is not for us and against white people, then he is a murderer, and we had better kill him. The task of black theology is to kill gods who do not belong to the black community. Black theology will accept only the love of God, which participates in the destruction of the white enemy. What we need is the divine love as expressed in black power, which is the power of black people to destroy their oppressors here and now by any means at their disposal. Unless God is participating in this holy activity, we must reject his love." Wow, America, here is what you need to know tonight. The man who wrote those words contributed to the foundation of Reverend Jeremiah Wright's ministry. Barack Obama has been fed a steady diet of those teaching for 20 years. He sat in the pew every Sunday, soaking it in. He never denounced or rejected the Reverend's beliefs until it was politically advantageous. So, do we believe 20 years of evidence or a 20-minute speech? Forget about me. I want to ask you the question. Is this the kind of man that you want to have access to the most powerful man on earth? Ken Blackwell is a senior fellow for family empowerment at the Family Research Council. You are a former UN ambassador, U.S. ambassador at the UN, and you have seen this black liberation philosophy or theology before. Explain, and I think this is even more frightening than the stuff that I've already read on television. Explain what you've seen.
Well, essentially, liberation theology took root in Africa and Central America. It was often offered up by Marxist regimes that knew that they couldn't uproot the church, so they tried to weaken the doctrine of the church. So it is an alternative doctrine of the church that embraces big government. It advances a collectivist ideal and idea, and it says the state, not the individual, is central to society. And that is very disquieting, but it also gives you a better understanding of the undergirding of Senator Obama's big government, liberal philosophy that would increase spending, increase taxes, weaken our military, and our position in the world.
I tell you, it explains the comments of his wife. It explains, you're exactly right, his big government ideas. If you understand what this theology is, you do begin to understand Barack Obama.
Here's a guy who basically said that while he was in Reverend Wright's church, he embraces Louis Farrakhan. The fact is that nobody has elevated this beyond his race. He can speak eloquently on race and moving towards a color-blind society, but what he can't speak to is how he got there, going to a color-conscious theology, and how he got there by embracing, I think, a position that was really radical and antithetical to this whole notion of God as being central to our nation and the individual as being primary.
He may be getting through the primaries this way, but unfortunately there's also a general election, and I'm not sure that this kind of double talk is going to work with the general electorate.
Gosh,
I think liberals are fooling themselves.
Black theology will accept only the love of God, which participates in the destruction of the white enemy. What we need is the divine love as expressed in black power, which is the power of black people to destroy their oppressors here and now by any means at their disposal.